Here's my opinion.
Love to hear it.
I'll tell you why. Is because the hottest part about baseball, bar none, is pitching and catching and hitting. I'll tell you why. Is
there any other parts of baseball?
Going to the bench and chewing seeds.
Yeah.
Hello, and welcome to the Bumpy Soup Podcast, the only podcast blazing it up 24/7, baby, smoking it up, chop, chop, chop. Big old doinks, mega doinks, omega doinks, baby doinks. We're doing them all, baby. Woo! I'm Alec. I'm here today with Emily.
Ha-na-na-na-na.
Aqua Supreme.
Blaze it up.
From Salt Lake City is Patrick.
This isn't even going to release on 420.
No, but we're still going to celebrate.
And we're celebrating because we're joining with our guest, Mr. Scat Ryan Sargent.
Yeah!
Weed, crack, and dope.
That's right. My three favorite things.
Mm-hmm.
We are filming this on 420.
You don't get to see it till later.
No, you don't.
I can't see anything with these glasses on.
But
Outfit change number one.
that
Yeah,
shit's a
exactly.
state of mind anyways, you know. That's a state of doubling up.
Yeah.
How you guys doing?
Good.
Good.
Happy camper.
Yeah, Scat.
Thanks for letting me hang out with y'all.
Thank you for being on here.
Yeah,
this is the
thank
first time on the
you.
pod.
Nope. Problem.
Yeah, Scat here is a good friend going way back. We've done music together. We've
I
done.
want you to tell the story about how you two met.
All right.
Bumble.
So I'll tell it from my perspective because that's all I know. I drove up to Salt Lake City to go see a TTNG show. Also, it was actually a Sargent House show because Milets was also playing as well as, and so I watched it from afar. This is back in 2013. 10
Yeah.
years, baby.
Over at Kilby Court.
Kilby fucking court. So I get there and drive up from St. George up to Salt Lake, get into the line to like buy a ticket. And a guy is super fucking drunk at the box office.
Was it him?
No, it was not.
I wished it was me.
He found him up scatting on stage. That's why
Yes.
his name's Scat, of
It
course.
was a guy named Derek, found out. And he's drunk and he's like, wow, I drove up here from St. George. This is my favorite band. I was like,
I drove 4 hours for this.
yeah. I'm like, hey, I drove from St. George too. And then like, I think you're either behind me or like right in front of me. And you're like, we also drove from St. George.
Well, I'll tell you what it is. It's the same thing that really bonds anybody, and that's talking shit. Is we were talking shit about that guy because he was hammered and he was like, I drove 4 hours for this. What?
Yeah.
Like at all the wrong times.
Yeah.
And we're like, dude, that guy's such a fucking dip.
Yep.
Like, and then, oh yeah, I drove from St. George. Oh, I drove from St. George.
Yeah.
And the lighting was right next to the bonfire. And
Yep. Everything was perfect.
yeah.
Well, that's one of those cool things about meeting people at shows is like you're guaranteed to know that they're a cool person if you're at a cool show.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yep.
Like you can pretty much meet anyone there and go like, yeah, this is going to be someone I'm going to be happy is in my life. You know?
Yeah, exactly. And go ahead.
That's exactly how I feel about, like, I feel like I can change from artist to artist, like who you go see, but you go find the real ones at the real shows, the good stuff. Then you can actually find some like real ass homies.
Definitely. Yeah. And that was, I think that maybe the first time that TTNG played in Utah, which was pretty cool. Yeah. And super funny that we both traveled 4 hours and ran into each other at a show and then ended up being real bestie friends.
Yeah,
It
that
was
wouldn't be our
fate.
last time either. Like we spent a lot of time driving and going, seeing shows, even just traveling back and forth. Like one time that stands out to me is that time we were driving up north in the fog.
Yeah. We were listening to Radiohead.
Yeah, how cliche, right?
And yeah. And driving through the fog and it's just like perfect.
That we're so
vibes.
over 30.
Yeah. We were going up there to go record an album.
Yeah.
This
What about
sounds
an
like a
album that
very
never
romantic
happened?
friendship. You two.
Yeah.
It's called a
We've
bromance.
It is a
Yeah,
bromance.
we've held the seat.
Can
They're
you
touching
zoom in on this over?
toes.
I hope that that's able to be seen.
Lift your toes up.
You do all the
This
editing
is
in
how
this,
good a
right?
friend.
Yeah.
You do like post. You
Yeah.
do post on this. During that whole time, Comic Sans, friendship in an arc.
Yeah, and I want to have like the like a heart filter that's like the
Yeah.
Valentine's Day.
You
Yeah,
can figure that out. You're smart.
we'll do it. But yeah.
I'm gonna make this a nightmare for post for you. This whole episode.
Wait, this is a
nightmare.
bit that I've been trying to think about. Just throughout this whole thing, just constantly mention things and make Alec have to put things in here. Like, oh hey, here's a picture that I took one time of Alec recreating him dancing in a garage when he was a little kid. Ding.
Oh fuck.
You just said that you made it, so you have to make it, and I'll put it in there.
I'll send it to him.
Yeah,
But
send it.
I
We can
have
put
this
it up.
picture.
Yeah. Speaking of things that you made, you know what we were talking about earlier? We were talking about an old internet username that you had, which is That's So Raiden.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
You're bringing up some PTSD subjects for me. This is me early days of my internet career. This is like,
We'll go and throw those links down in the comment.
That's so Raiden.
yeah, like a mixture of
Like Mortal Kombat?
Yeah, like it was just a meme page. I just made memes and I posted them on there. It was the
respect
beginning
it.
of my meme career. Yeah.
Yeah.
That actually reminds me of
beautiful.
a time that I also had PTSD about that same phrase. This was way back, I would have to say maybe 2009, no later than like 2011. There was a new spot off of Dixie Drive called Mojo's Underground. It was a coffee shop.
Oh, cool.
And they had an electric drum kit there with like a handful of like different instruments, and they were just down for you guys to...
Put your knee down. Sorry.
That's fine. I'll
We
stretch
don't
out.
have a knee code word.
We don't.
We're touching.
Knee.
So we were hanging out there with some of the homies, and they would just let us jam because they just had instruments. Well, this was also during the time we were going hard in the paint on smoking salvia.
Sick.
560, blaze it every other week.
That's what they say.
And we went behind this place, and me and a couple buddies hit it, and a good friend of mine who will be nameless just for, legality's sake. He hit this big old rip of salvia, and this big old crow came down and landed like 5 feet in front of us. I mean, this thing was huge.
Like immediately
And so he's
after?
like, that's so Raven.
Yeah, sick.
And that's what got me to stop smoking salvia.
No, that's actually really funny. That's the exact same story that the creators of That's So Raven have. If you ask them how they came up with the name.
That is a true Disney original.
That's where Raven got her name from.
Yeah,
Raven
exactly.
Simone.
What about Raven Kane?
Oh.
Shout out Raven Kane,
Shout out
dude.
Raven Kane.
He that's like just one of the guys in the world. You
Yeah.
know.
In the episode we talked about him last, I said I was going to put pictures up that he posts, but I forgot to, so I'm going to put them up now.
Yeah, ding. Here's the 9/11 one. That's my favorite one.
9/11's top tier, dude.
Yeah.
I remember talking to that guy about getting a tour bus and doing Van's Warped Tour,
Warped
and
Tour.
made him a free album
Yeah.
because we didn't get anything off of it because of some, yeah, that was a time.
Have you tried to cash it in for like some karate lessons?
Hell no.
No, it's not karate. It's Kobucho
No,
Kai
no,
Te.
Kajukibo.
Kajukibo.
Yeah.
Could you do that just for hee-hee-hoo-hoos?
For hee-hee-hoo-hoos? No, I don't do that. I'm a mother trucking son of the South. I don't do, I don't do karate.
That's a Raven Kane reference, by the way.
Man. A badass mother trucking son.
Yeah.
Yeah, he swears and then doesn't swear.
No, but to be real though, I mean, if people ever had a podcast, and like people that I've maybe met like a couple times had a podcast and they referenced Aqua Supreme and they were talking about that, that's a win. You've just, so shout out Raven Kane, dude. I respect him in some form.
He had a distinct
Big ups.
brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say one thing that impressed me. He climbed up on the rafters and fell or jumped or something, busted his arm, and rolled the whole show with a broken arm.
Damn.
And then continued performing in a sling.
Wow.
So
Big ups. You know what?
Yeah.
Like he's got heart, and
He's
Shout
got
out.
the strength of a raven.
He's got mental
shout
health.
out Raven Kane. No, he's got the bird. He's got the bones of a raven.
Bones of the raven, determination of Cain.
Yeah. The determination of raising canes.
Yeah. That's actually what he actually went to Raisin Cane's one time. He's like, that's so good. I'm going to name my stage name after this.
Yeah.
So what has everyone been up to this week? Maybe Patrick? What's going on? I see you're wearing a beanie.
I am wearing a beanie, and I also shaved but kept the mustache. While Shane is gone, I just really want Gretchen to really not be able to tell us apart.
Shout out Gretchen.
Shout out Gretchen.
I love you, Gretchen.
I went and saw the theater right by my house showed the third Lord of the Rings movie last night. That was pretty sick.
Ooh, fun.
Very cool.
You're near either the Broadway or the Tower. You don't have to say which one, right? Those are good theaters.
No, it's a Century or a
never mind.
Cinemark.
Never mind.
Yeah.
Forget about it.
I mean, you're kind of close. You're within 20 minutes.
I love the Tower Theater.
Yeah,
that's
shout
one
out
thing.
Tower Theater.
Yeah, that's one thing I do miss about living in Salt Lake was going to movies there. Scott was actually at one of them.
You get the nice recliners.
Yeah,
I was there.
Yeah, do you remember we went and saw the Nun movie with Aubrey Plaza?
The
Little
Hours.
The
Little Hours.
Yes, I do remember seeing that movie, and I was sober as a gopher, and I was tripping balls watching that because I was so lost on what was going on because I was not prepared for that. And I don't think it's a difficult movie to follow. I just think I'm especially dumb.
Catholicism.
Aubrey Plaza is a nun.
What's happening?
Yeah.
I'm fairly new into my Aubrey Plaza crushing phase.
I'm so locked in on that.
Yeah, dude, you're like 7 years
I'm
late.
pretty
She's a
late,
QT
aren't I?
pie.
She
Like
is.
the last couple seasons of Parks and Rec, like it's like it's just really difficult to watch sometimes because she's just really distracting. It's just like, all right, they made an entire show off of just her being herself. I don't know. Anyways.
Is she an
she's
CIA asset?
Stunning.
No, but me and Maddie were actually talking about this today. She does this weird thing where it's like, I think that she's just attractive enough that she's gotten so much validation throughout her life that she just like acts like that in interviews now. Like the way that April Ludgate acts, that's how Aubrey Plaza acts in real life. And the thing is like, I think that she's just attractive enough that no one's ever told her like, this is a good bit, but it's not quite there yet. It's still kind of cringy. Like you gotta work it a little bit more to like, you're not just being weird in front of everyone. You know what I mean? Like it's funny to do that, but like you got to make a good bit out of it, not just be strange. And she just is strange. That's my conclusion.
I don't know. I think part of her deal is making everyone uncomfortable, and that's something I think she gets pleasure out of.
Yeah, I just feel whenever I do it, it just makes me cringe a little bit, and I just think that like if she got a little bit less validation, then I feel like she'd be able to do it a little bit better and get over. I just feel like she hasn't workshopped it all the way perfectly.
Have you guys
yet.
seen the Drew Barrymore interview? Oh man. She's like being interviewed by Drew Barrymore, and she's like calling her mommy, and it's like, I want to crawl up inside you, and she's like, I want to pull you into my belly, and it's like really like this weird kind of psychosexual like Freudian thing, and it doesn't feel like something that should be publicly available.
No, this should have been behind a paywall, but Drew Barrymore is very nice, and she let us all see it.
Have you seen the Sunday Conversations with Caleb Presley, any of those? Because he interviews Drew Barrymore, and he's like, all right, I got a bit for you. I'm gonna name a few things. You're gonna tell me if it's a date or not. And she's like, all right, I'm down. And he's like, all right, what about coffee? And she's like, I don't think it's a date unless you make it a date. And he's like, okay, well, like what about something else? I don't remember what it is. And she's like, yeah, a dinner. That's what it was. Dinner with other friends. And she's like, no, that's not a date. And he's like, December 7th, 1941. And that's Pearl Harbor. And she's like, I'm going to Pearl Harbor in the spring.
Do you think Margaret Thatcher was a girl boss?
Oh, that's
Eric Andre. That
sounds like Eric Andre.
Can there be good girl bosses and bad girl bosses?
Well, I just think that Margaret Thatcher wasn't a girl boss. I think girl boss is only a positive term, and Margaret Thatcher is dead. Ding. Here's a picture of Margaret Thatcher's grave.
Margaret Thatcher.
With little X's on the eyes.
Stick figure twerking in the club.
Oh, no, I'm not making that.
I'm not going to make you, but.
Yeah. Gift not found. Yeah.
I'll tell you about
hang on. You watched a movie. What movie was it?
Lord of the Rings, 3, right? Patrick?
Oh, you're talking to me?
Return of the King.
Yeah, it was Return of the King. It was pretty sick. It was the extended one too, so it was like an hour longer than I thought it was going to be. And poor Days, she doesn't even like those movies, and she just went with me because I kind of asked her to. And then she sat there for 4.5 hours watching this movie she doesn't like.
Real one.
Yeah.
Okay, you owe her now.
Lord of the Rings is one of those shows that, like, at any moment, I am actively wishing that I was watching. Like, at all times, if someone says, do you want to watch Lord of the Rings? The answer is yes, and it's always a yes. And if it's what movie should we watch? It's Lord of the Rings. Like, I'm down to watch other things.
I think at one point, I think it was Alec even asked me, was like, you know, if you could like see like one movie in the theater, like when it came out, if you could like go back in time. And my answer has always been Return of the King. So to see it in theaters, because I was like 6 when it came out. So that was really awesome for me to go see that. That's one of those movies that I've just loved my entire life.
Is that your favorite of the 3?
Yeah, I think so.
Why?
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, they're all really good in their own ways. Return of the King, I think, just has a lot of the best like scenes in it. Like the fucking Rohirrim charging. It has a lot of the things that are like emotional, and there's like all of the payoffs that you get are in that movie. Two Towers, I think, is a really good one that goes unnoticed because it has the benefit of not having a 40-minute prologue like Fellowship does and a 40-minute epilogue like Return of the King does. So it just has like really good pacing throughout. And then Fellowship is also up there for like the best one as well, just because it's just so classic. You get to see like all of the sights in it. The cinematography in it is probably the best of the 3 in Fellowship. The whole thing, and Boromir is like my favorite character, so him being in it is also a huge plus.
Yeah.
The walking trees who go and fuck shit up, and they fuck shit up so much that they cause a flood. That's the coolest movie. That's the coolest movie. 2 takes it just because of that scene.
Yeah.
It's hard not to agree with that. Also, Helm's Deep, classic, but might be a little bit of a hot take. I think the battle in at Gondor in Minas Tirith and the third one is actually better.
Well, yeah, it's the battle, right? It's what the entire series is led up to, is that fight right there, you know?
Right. Plus like the fucking elephants, dude. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. That scene when you first see them for the first time and you go, what are those? And they don't explain it. You just like then are like, oh, these things are cool, but they don't like explain like what they are. But yeah, I love that.
They're just some badass fucking war elephants, dude.
And that scene when Legolas goes up and takes them out, right? He like climbs up the arrows.
He like surfs off the trunk and shit. Yeah. They give Legolas like he's like an Avenger like cartoon character, and it's like it's almost at the point where it was like, this is too much, this is cheesy, this is bad, and it walks the line, but like it's so fucking sick that you can't hate on it.
Yeah. And then they have like the kind of him and Gimli have like and Gimli like that only counts as one.
Yeah. Classic. Everyone that was there was like a super huge fan of it too, and everyone was like clapping at their favorite parts and laughing, and like they bring out the wolf's head Grond battering ram thing, and everyone in the audience was like Grond, like doing the chant with the orcs and shit.
That's great.
This brings up a point that like I've been thinking about a lot. And so there's this tweet that I saw that said, it was like talking about people who complain when other people are talking during a movie theater. And the point was pretty clear. It was just like, well, if you don't want people to talk, don't go watch art around a bunch of other people, right? The whole reason, if you're thinking about like, obviously TV didn't come around, or like big TVs where you could watch movies didn't come around until recently. So it didn't work this way. But like now that we have both of these mediums, you should go to the theaters if you want to talk about a movie and like react to a movie with your friends. Otherwise, watch it at home if you want it to be quiet. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know if I agree with that dichotomy. I think there's a lot of reason people go to the theater.
Here's my point. Here's my point on that. Shut your kids up. Shut your kids up, bitch. I'm watching Ice Age 2.
Yeah.
I'm watching Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs too.
Oh God.
I'm gonna start swearing along with them.
I've had some good like theater watching experiences, but I think my favorite one to date has been going to see Cats. in theater, and we put some boxed wine in water bottles and went with Jack McCall.
Yeah.
This is the second episode in a row.
Oh, there's a way easier to do that. Have you seen those like boxed wines that are like Capri Suns? They have the little straw. You can get them at the liquor store. It's literally like a box.
That's dangerous.
It's like a juice box, but wine.
Yeah.
I think it like a bag. It's like a bag.
There's some of them are bags. Some of them are like
Camelback.
Some of them are like an entire camelback.
Wow.
It's just like a long straw.
Some of them are like in a cardboard box.
Yeah.
There's a myriad of them.
Interesting.
Well, on the movie theater thing, this is my thing. Is that like I'm not gonna sit there for 2 hours and not talk. That's just not something I'm interested in doing at any time, you know. And like
haters jump in the comments.
Like I mean, it's just so, which is fine. It just means that like I'm not gonna go to a movie theater ever on my own time. Why would I go to choose to do something I don't like to do, which is sit there and not talk? Aqua. Well, hold on. So okay. the thing here is that like it just, for me, it just seems like if I don't know, if I'm gonna go watch a movie around other people in public, I would like to be able to react to it and like clap along and like all that stuff. I wish that was more normalized because it sounds fun. Otherwise, it doesn't sound fun to me. Go and sit somewhere and be quiet.
I mean, they do that at concerts.
I think there's there's a difference between talking during a movie and just being like, oh dude, that was fucking sick, or you know, shit like that. And also with this movie, it's a 20-year-old movie that everyone who was in that theater had seen plenty of times, so like no one really cares if everyone is just chanting Grand. Well, and that doesn't take away from everyone just joins in with it, and it's fun.
And it's also like a cultural thing, like because there are like, I mean,
Rocky Horror Picture.
I'll like read on. Well, yeah, I mean, like if you have like cult classics where like people dress up and shit, of course everyone's gonna be yelling. But like I've read like on Letterboxd, like people talking about their experiences of going to theaters, and they're like everyone's yelling and getting super excited. And to be honest, I think that there is like I think that's a little more prevalent in like Black culture, is like people getting super into that, and like that's something that doesn't really exist a lot in at least the theaters that I've gone to growing up. You know?
Well, so there's definitely something about like, okay, so this initial idea I started having when I was a kid in high school doing theater stuff and going like, listen, I don't want to go watch a play. That's boring. I don't want to sit and be quiet. That just isn't something I find fun. And the thing is this, back when Shakespeare was doing stuff, that's not how it was. When theater was created, people went and did it because they went and they cheered and they, you know, yelled. And if it covered up an important part of the story, they said that important part of the story 7 times so people would get the point.
Yeah,
for
that's
sure.
not how movies work.
Well, I know, but I'm saying the thing is that like that's why it was fun. And then it got normalized, and then there were some other conventions like, okay, don't talk during it. But like for me now, it's just, I mean, listen, I love art and I love movies. I love watching them. I get the point and I get why. I'm just also saying that like that should be something we should think about. And this also goes into another point. I watched this TikTok Maddie showed me about dynamic captions, right? No more captions just at the bottom, just reading it there. That's not fair to people who are disabled, right? Captions should be part of the movie, and especially if we incorporate the people talking during movies at public showings, when someone talks quiet, have the captions smaller, right? And then when they get loud, and like have the captions show up as they're speaking with it, so it doesn't give away the plot beforehand.
This is intellectual property. You can't steal this idea.
But like, and that would play perfectly into this. Let people talk in theaters. No one's gonna miss anything. If you're watching the movie, you'll see this stuff. And also it'd be cool stuff on screens, and also it's accessibility.
Okay,
you know?
I have a proposal. You know how like Christians and like Europeans brought modesty to like different areas of the world,
and honesty. Modesty and honesty.
I think maybe they did the same thing with theater, but they were loud in Europe when Mozart was playing.
Well,
or
again,
whatever.
it's like the like colonization of it, right? Turning it from being a thing that's for the people and for the poor people into a thing that's for the prim and proper, and you go there and you be quiet, and that's right. It is like a colonization of a thing that like everyone around the world was doing theater and art, right? But as far as like European theater, it got kind of colonized, or it got capitalism, classism, if you will.
I think a lot of this also depends on the movie that you're watching. Gonna go watch Phantom Thread and Hoot and Holler along with it.
What about Raiders of the Lost Ark?
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
But that's a great one.
That would be a great time. Yeah. I think that any sort of movie that has like a large cult following, a large like kind of fan base, really opens it up to have like
And
really cool
action movie.
really cool cultural experiences, and things that you can hang out and everyone's like screaming and like woo and whatever like that. But you know, it's a cultural thing, and if everyone's doing it, it works. But if only one dude is in the middle of it doing it, it's like shut up, man.
For sure, yeah, and that's the thing is it should just. I mean, and it's not like anything can be done immediately to change this. It's just something I think that we should all think about. Is like, well, if you're like, I don't know, I don't go to the theater very often, but it's like if I like when I saw Everything Everywhere All at Once, if like everyone there had seen it before and we were able to have that experience, or I don't know. Anyways, I just think it'd be cool if it wasn't this quiet experience. You know what I mean? And there's probably accessibility things that have to be changed to make that possible.
Yeah, good thoughts. What have you been up to this week, Aqua?
I have a couple things.
Opens laptop.
Just slap on the laptop.
So firstly, any avid watchers of the podcast will notice that I'm using a Juul instead of my normal ones because I ran out of my normal one. But I just want to shout out, let anyone know who is currently buying vapes for way too expensive and they're like, wow, this is way too expensive. There's this website called altvapes.com or like alternatevapes.com or something like that, and it's super
Vapes
cheap.
of the alt-right.
Yeah, nope, not that.
He
not
said
that.
it.
I didn't. I said alt vapes. Anyways, you get them way cheaper. So shout out them, and if you want cheaper vapes, do that. Another thing that happened.
Do they ship to Utah?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Another thing that happened, and this was pretty cool. So me and Maddie, we live right downtown, so we were walking down there, and we just decided to stop in. There's this shop called Judd's, and it's like this old timey shop that is like the original settlers of St. George. It's the old building, and you go in there, you can buy all the candies and stuff. They also sell soup. And breadsticks. And so we were just walking around and we're like, oh yeah, let's just stop in there and get, little candies or whatever. So we're in there and we're just looking at stuff. And as I'm looking, this guy just goes, hey. And I'm like, what? And I look up and he goes, you're I forget. Anyways, the conversation, he didn't know who I was. And he's like, what's your name? I'm like, Max Wilping. He's like, oh, Alex's little brother. I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh. And anyways, so we start talking and he's like, and he just mentions, he's like, yeah, dude, I loved Sleep Dealer, which is Alec and Patrick's old band. And yeah, they were the best. And he's like, yeah, my wife actually named the store's email, the business email is soupdealer@gmail.com. And he was telling me it's like they were just trying to come up with a name, and he just said Soup Dealer, and they're like, it's in there, let's do it. And
he had no idea that he was referencing us. Shout out Graham Bueller. Shout out Graham. Shout out Judd. Shout out Heather.
Shout out Graham's mustache. I don't know if you've seen it. That thing is
I don't think I've ever been inside that store before, but now that I know that a friend of the podcast runs it.
Yeah. Anyways, he's big fan of Sleep Dealer, big fan of everything. And yeah, he was telling me that like Ricky was over there the other night talking to him. I was like, oh, that's funny.
Do you think that we can talk to him and see if we can get like a soup that's called Bumpy Soup that's in there?
Well, wait, this is the other thing. I'm in that store and I look up and I see this shirt and it's a Supreme shirt, but it's not. It says Supreme, like Supreme soup. And anyways, I was going insane. I couldn't believe that he thought of it before we did. So we need to get it Bumpy Supreme or Aqua Supreme. But yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I also had a run-in with Graham the last time I was down in St. George. I tried to go to Bombay Cafe, but it was closed. And it's right next to Judd's. And he was like pulling up in his truck and he rolls his window down. He's like, Patrick. And I look over, I'm like, who the fuck is this? And he's like pretty far away and I can't tell who he is. And I have to like walk up to the truck and I'm like a little nervous. I'm like, I don't know who this guy is. And I walk up there. He's like, don't tell me you don't remember me, dude. And I'm like, oh, fuck, man. And I get really close. I'm like, oh, shit. Thank God I do remember you. That would be so fucking embarrassing.
Hey, man.
I did not recognize him. I don't think we really interacted that much. But I was like, well, does Scott just look slightly different now? Oh, my God.
Well, he like didn't used to have facial hair, which like makes him look kind of different. And he was also wearing a hat, which like I had never seen him wear a hat. So he just like looked kind of different than I remembered him. But
of a very well-known lineage in St. George.
Yeah, well, but I feel like I know most of the people who know my lineage.
Yeah.
But I don't know, not this guy, not Graham.
The Jazzy's crew.
The soup dealer.
Yeah, the soupist.
Shout out to those breadsticks. God damn.
Yeah, dude. Honestly, I can't believe you haven't been to Judd's before. This is an official Judd's podcast.
Judd's.
We love Judd's. Ding, Judd's.
The anti sponsorship is Judd's.
Yeah, we love Judd's.
It's opposite day.
Yeah.
It's also 420 and Earth Day.
We love the earth.
But weed.
Is the ocean not just a bumpy soup?
It is bumpy.
I'm just imagining trash in the ocean now. Okay, what's your next
I have
thing?
one more. This one's pretty embarrassing. So, okay, so I was watching soccer the other day, right? And so
that's embarrassing.
Yeah. So the thing that's interesting.
Not off to a good start.
Before I started watching soccer, like I felt like I never used TV and stuff, so I never got like commercials. But now I do, and so I get like commercials all the time, and commercials that I'm pretty sure that not everyone else gets, just because of how often I watch it, and they're TV commercials, right? So if you're not watching TV, you won't see them. But this one wasn't necessarily one of those. That's just a side thought. It was an Amazon Prime commercial came on, and it had this song in the background, and I was like, damn, this song's pretty good. And like the guilt you feel when you find a good song through an Amazon Prime commercial, horrible. So then I'm like, okay, and I'm already feeling bad. And I go and I look it up, and it's by Queen. And it's like, man, I didn't know this song by Queen, and I found it through an Amazon commercial. And
what song was it?
That's
Cool Cat.
painful.
It's a banger. But yeah, it was a hard time for me.
That sucks, dude.
My condolences. But also, you found a cool song.
Yeah, right. There's goods and there's bads to it. I'm just mad people at Amazon Prime have a better taste in music than I do. It's
Rip.
like,
Yeah.
Sorry.
You know, I think you actually had one more thing because I'm pretty sure that it's Supreme 60 Seconds of Soccer right now.
Let's just count. Let's say 3, 2, 1, but let's count down 4, 2, 0.
4, 2, 0, go.
Okay, welcome to Supreme 60 Seconds of Soccer. Let's go! Firstly, Real Salt Lake, change the name of your stadium. Okay, moving on. This morning, Utah Royals FC announced that legendary Royals player Amy Rodriguez will be returning as the first team manager. A-Rod is the third manager in Royals history, following Laura Harvey and Craig Harrington, and the first since the club was reestablished this year. I'm really excited to see what she can bring to the Royals. So welcome back, Amy. Convince the club to change the name of the stadium. Okay, moving on. Fulham beat Everton 3-1 on Saturday, snapping a 5-game losing streak. After his own goal in the last game, Harrison Reed put us up 1-0 before Dwight McNeil scored for Everton. Listen, I hate Dwight McNeil. Not for any other reason than his name is Dwight and he scored and he's a professional athlete, but it's so classic British people to have a professional athlete named Dwight. Dwight! That's not fair. You can't be named Dwight. You don't be named Dwight and go be a professional athlete. That's for bald people and people who brew their own beer. Get Dwight out of here. Shut Dwight up.
Shut up.
All right.
You're at -6 seconds. 8 seconds.
This is coming off of your time.
10
next time.
seconds.
No, I'm done.
Negatives, Supreme's 54 seconds of soccer.
Nice.
So last week, no one got any points because RSL lost 2-1 to Dallas.
What? I said that Dallas would win.
I don't think so. I believe.
Yeah, because I
You
said
did.
FC Dallas
He
is
did.
fucking
Oh,
cool
you
Dallas,
yeah.
and
No,
really
hold on.
sucky
You said
losers.
3-2 Dallas.
That's
So
right.
need to
you get-
retabulate.
You get
Hold on.
1 point.
Let's go. I was
Okay,
right.
this week we got RSL versus San Jose. Alec.
I'm sticking with my RSL hate right now because they proved me to be bad. So I'm going 3-2 San Jose.
San Jose. Okay, Emily.
I'm going to do a 4-0 loss is hard to recover from emotionally, I would think. I think they're still feeling that. And so I think
2 4-0 losses.
4 2-0 losses.
4
That's actually worse.
So I am going to say San Jose 2, Real 1.
Ooh. Okay. Scott.
I don't know shit about soccer. I'm just going to go off of my gut. Real Salt Lake 2-0.
Yeah, boy.
Yep.
Patrick.
1-1.
1-1. How much fun though?
1/10 of the fun.
Yeah, 1 out of 10. I'm having fun. Yeah.
It'll be all right.
I'm gonna say 1-0. So RSL baby.
All right.
That's it.
Well, while we're on the topic of sports, I'm going to be selfish, and this is going to be one of those things that I'm going to talk about that no one else can contribute to because I know no one else gives a shit about it.
We love it.
Let's talk about baseball for 5 seconds.
Baseball.
Let's talk about baseball.
Let's do it.
The overall theme of this is let's go Padres. We had a rough past few games with the Braves. However, it seems to be that we've been cleared for Fernando Tatis Jr. to be coming back, which we're going to put him in the outfield, which is a hell of a lineup.
Let's go Fernando Titties.
Yeah, Fernando Tatis Jr. Let's get it done. He's a bad man with the bat. Tell you that. And we have Juan Soto, one of the baddest baddies. He's been slumping, but he's a baddie. He is a baddie with a bat.
All right.
And then we got Xander Bogaerts. And shout out to one of the nastiest pitchers in all of MLB, Yu Darvish, one of our starters.
What did you call me?
you heard me loud and clear. Yu Darvish is bad, and he's
Same
bad
corner
nasty.
as Bidoof.
Because like most pitchers are like a 3 or 4 pitch guys. They'll have like obviously a fastball, a curveball. They'll have maybe like a slider, and then they'll have like a cutter or something like that. Yu Darvish is like a 14, 15 pitch guy. He is like a master of the craft.
He's a Darvish.
He is a Darvish. He's a twirling,
whirling
Darvish.
Yeah.
That's all I got on baseball. Let's go Padres.
Let's go Padres.
Firstly, like
This is a Padres
we should
podcast.
appreciate sports names that are fantastic,
Yeah.
right? Staying in baseball, Mookie Betts. What a
Mookie
name,
Betts.
dude. That's such a good name.
Okay, out of 10, all at the same time. Mookie Betts. 3, 2, 1, 10.8.
I missed the assignment.
That's okay. You can do 10.8. Good enough.
Yeah.
Mookie Betts. What a name.
And my all-time favorite. This comes from the NFL. Ha ha, Clinton Dix. That's come on. Ha ha, Clinton Dix.
Hell yeah.
That reminds me of a video on Twitter that I saw maybe 2 weeks ago. Twitter's been really uninspiring the last 2 weeks. I have been looking at it less.
Thanks, Elon.
Yeah, this video was like a city council, state legislature meeting, and it was open for public comment. And someone who was getting ready to be done said some awesome things. I think it was about trans people healthcare. And they were finished, and then they started calling the names of these other people, and it was like Big Ol' Dixon.
Yeah.
Mookie Betts is a real
Don't
name.
make fun of my
That's his
dog.
real name.
Slap me hiney. That kind of shit.
The other thing I wanted to ask you is, do you have any opinions on the pitching clock?
Ooh, I see it both ways. I see that it speeds up the game because everyone's biggest gripe with baseball is that it's a slow sport. It's boring. You throw a pitch, you wait for 13 minutes, and the batter gets ready, and then everyone gets ready, the pitcher gets ready, and then you throw a really late pickoff, and then you're waiting all over again. I totally see that for the entertainment side, but on the flip side of that coin, I think a problem with it is pitching health because you have pitchers throwing way more now, at least maybe not way more, I should say, but the frequency just jumped up a lot as far as like duration.
Well, and how fast they're doing it.
Yeah,
right?
and these guys are whipping. I mean, have you seen on the Dodgers, Brewstar Gratterall? Nasty.
Homestar runner.
Brewstar Gratterall. He's so nasty. He looks like he's throwing batting practice because he has like the funkiest mechanics, and he looks like he's just lobbing it in there. But all of a sudden, it's like 103 two seam, and so he's nasty. But you have an arm that's taking like 100+ miles an hour of whip through your ligaments and all that kind of stuff, and then you just ramp that up to like every 15 seconds or whatever the pitch clock is. Híjole, that's like not good for you.
Well, it makes sense for them to institute something like this, right? Like every other sport has something where it's like you can't just sit there and hold the ball the entire game, or
You can't lead stall.
No
That's
lead
right.
stalling. H box. We're looking at you.
The H box of baseball.
Yeah, is not having a pitch clock.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my opinion on the pitch clock.
Let me get your opinion on this also. I've always said baseball is like pinball, but a sport. It's like people in the 1900s when they invented pinball were like, let's do this with people too, and it's just pinball, but people.
Ooh, I see what you're saying, and I think you're dumb. Here's my opinion. Here's my opinion.
Love to hear it.
I'll tell you why. Is because the hottest part about baseball, bar none, is pitching and catching and hitting. I'll tell you why. Is because
is there any other parts of baseball?
going to the bench and chewing seeds.
That's the part that made me play baseball as a kid. I don't give a fuck about the hitting and the running and the catching. I want to sit in the dugout and eat bubble gum, dude.
Yeah, juice boxes.
Pretending like you're your dad and getting a big old horseshoe with that big league chew, thinking you're your dad.
Yeah.
I'm just imagining the major leagues. They make all the players like walk in a line and like high five each other.
Sportsmanship. No, but like the chess game that is in pitching. Okay, shouts out to Pitching Ninja. Okay, if you're not subscribed to him, grow up, because he's doing the Lord's work. You can see some nasty pitchers. You can see how like pitch tunneling works, where like the pitch will come out the same and look exactly the same halfway, 3/4 of the way to the plate, and all of a sudden one will like stay on its path, the other one just drops to the dirt. And he just shows great mechanics in pitching, as well as like pitching strategy, as well as like nasty upcomers. So subscribe to Pitching Ninja because he's dope. Also, while we're on this, shout out to John Boy Media, because they're doing the Lord's work as well, because they're doing blitzball tournaments.
Oh, really?
Oh, and that's the whole reason I ended up getting that blitzball set. And now I sit out Saturdays at some park somewhere, heaving blitz balls, trying to get a knuckle drop down because Jack Doyle makes it look so good.
Scott, do you remember when I smoked your dad at blitzball?
Yes.
And I got to pick the team and we won.
And we were day drinking at the park.
We were day drinking.
Blitzball.
That's right.
In the
Alcohol
sunshine.
is not
Come
the
on.
excuse
You're telling me
here.
that is not the American dream? That was a good time.
I think it was me, your mom, and Alec, or Ethan on our team.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Good time.
Yeah.
So shout outs to Blitzball, shout outs to John Boy Media, shouts out to learning nasty pitches on a blitzball. And if you want to dare, find me on a field, son bitch.
I want
Meet
that
me on the
sentence.
field.
I'm sitting there on a weekend throwing blitz balls, trying to get them to knuckleball like Joe, whatever you said his name is. I want that sentence like framed and put
like Joe Diffie.
in a museum. That was like incredible stuff.
So sentences that I want framed, and I was thinking about this today. It's more than one sentence, but it's the monologue from The Green Knight, the A24 film, where Alicia Vikander's character talks about like why the Green Knight is green.
I haven't seen it.
It's so fucking good. I think I have it on my Google Docs right now, but I want it to get like typewritered out, like maybe on Etsy and framed. Death is inevitable, and like humans seek the color red for like passion and life and lust and victory or whatever.
Yeah.
But green always like follows it, and like green is what like rusts your swords and coin, and
That's
green
also
is
the
what
Christmas
rots you
color
when you're
combo.
dead.
Yeah.
There's this guy
It's so fucking cool. It's such a cool monologue.
at the jam spot. There's this guy. What was his name? Patrick, what was the old artist guy's name? Do you remember?
Andrew.
No, not him. The old guy.
Old Andrew.
The old dude who was like a famous painter. What was his name? Okay, yeah.
Crazy door.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So there's this guy one time, and we were all doing acid. I think this is my first time.
Patreon content.
Allegedly.
Patreon content.
Yeah,
Allegedly.
Yeah. And so we're I follow him on Instagram. I can't believe I don't know his name, but so we're all sitting there.
Humongous.
Yeah, there you go. We're all sitting there outside just having conversations, and he just comes up. So he rented a spot at the jam spot just like we did, and he just would sit in there and just paint, and that's all he did. So he was out there and he came. So sorry, some prelude to this. We've interacted with him a couple times. One time he gave Alec a box of Rice Krispies and stuff like that. And like, yeah, he was just kind of around. So anyways, we were all outside just tripping and just talking. Anyways, he comes up and starts talking to us. And this is what I remember from him saying. He says, oh, you see, like and he had an accent, but he's like, I wear green and I have a green car and I have green all around because green is the color of virility. And I want to signal to girls that I'm still fertile and I'm still here and viable. And
I wear green to show the women that I am still fertile. I want to show them that I am still capable to make a baby.
And he's like, this is a famous art. Like he like has some like pretty well-known pieces. That's like what he does professionally. Also, he would always be like, because he's an immigrant, and he had I'll still see him around town sometimes. He has an American flag on his car, and he'd always be like, see that American flag? I have an American flag on my car. None of you have American flags on your car. I'm a real American. I really care about this place, and I have an American flag. Yeah.
What if you get like a tax deduction for having an American flag sticker on your car?
Yeah. Well, no, it's not a sticker. It's a flag, a full flag.
Did he change the stripes to green?
So they know he's American and fertile. I want to say it was like Gonzalo or anyways. We'll figure it out and we'll link him. Ding right here.
That lovely interpretation of green. Can we follow it up by reading this? I found it.
Okay.
Do you want to be Lord or Gawain?
Gawain. Yeah.
Lord Godwin.
Here we go.
Okay.
This is from the Green Knight.
Why is he green, do you think?
The knight?
Yes.
Was he born that way? Perhaps it is the color of his blood when he blushes.
But why green? Why not blue or red?
Because he is not of this earth.
But green is the color of earth, of living things, of life.
And of rot.
Yes. Yes. We deck our halls with it and dye our linens. But should it come creeping up the cobbles, we scrub it out as fast as we can. When it blooms beneath our skin, we bleed it out. And when we, together all, find that our reach has exceeded our grasp, we cut it down, we stamp it out. We spread ourselves atop it and smother it beneath our bellies. But it comes back. It does not daily, nor does it wait to plot or conspire. Pull it out by the roots one day, and then next, there it is, creeping in around the edges. Whilst we're off looking for red, in comes green. Red is the color of lust, but green is what lust leaves behind in heart and womb. Green is what is left when ardor fades, when passion dies, when we die too. When you go, your footprints will fill with grass. Moss shall cover your tombstone, and as the sun rises, green shall spread over all, and in all its shades and hues. This verdigris will overtake your swords and your coins and your battlements, and try as you might, all you hold dear will succumb to it. Your skin, your bones, your virtue. And then later on, there's a really weird masturbation scene, but we're not going to talk about that.
That makes me feel some ways about Christmas.
Yeah, it's interesting that you. I don't know exactly what you take from that. That sounded like overtly sad and like not. I don't know. It isn't something I think that I'd want to have like hung up or something. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
I
like
want it
beautiful,
on my
but it's not
walls.
like happy or like.
No.
No,
Like-
it's like it's a triumph. It's like regrowth comes from anything else that you experience.
Yeah, life will continue.
And I'll
on.
say no to that,
It's-
and I'll tell you why. Kalid.
What do
Shouts
you-
out
what
to
are-
Kalid.
What do you want to say,
Ring.
All right.
Patrick?
I was going to say, it's just not very live, laugh, love of you.
Yeah,
I was going to say live, laugh, love. Yeah. It's not.
green.
Yeah, but remember that if you don't live, laugh, or love, green will still overtake your corpse.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you live, laugh, love or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of green, I'm gonna hijack this thing and steer hard left. Y'all ready?
All right.
Baseball.
This is we're talking about baseball again. No, I never talked to you about this, but I'm making my own segment.
Okay.
It's called Fantano Flip Flops.
Ooh.
And this is where I
Coming for you, Melon.
This is where I give praise and negative reviews to Anthony Fantano's reviews.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna make it quick so that this is
Patrick
clippable.
is biting his fist right now.
And shout out to Fantano for what he's doing. First up, we got JPEG and Danny Brown with "Scaring the Hose." He gave it a light 9. Hell yeah, my boy. I'm gonna rate that a thick thinny thigh tano. No, let's flip flop. Title Fights Hyperview. He gave it a light 4. All right. And this was I think like
Fantano
7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Back when he had hair, so I don't think he was thinking right. But I'm gonna rate his rating. The album Bumpthany is not poopy Tano. Let's flip flop and let's go to Lingua Ignota's Sinner Get Ready. He gave that thing a 10, and fuck yeah. We're gonna say blessings Thany upon you, Tano, because damn straight that thing is a 10. If you haven't listened to that, you need to experience that. I dare you all, the whole album, back to front, no skips.
Okay.
Let's flip flop and go to something negative. A band that I actually really like, Toro y Moi.
Yep.
The album Mahal, the most recent one.
Yeah.
He gave it a decent 7. I don't think that's right, bud. We're giving that a Bumpthany, it off Tano.
Wait, is it better or worse than that?
No. That's such a mediocre album. I love Toro y Moi, especially the older stuff, but this was just, no, man, stop it, buddy. Next up, Smino, Love for Rent. He gave it a decent 8, and you know what? I think we're gonna give that one a you barely Thany passed on this Tano.
Smino?
Yeah, that Love for Rent album is an easy light 9, easy.
Well, I mean, he was close though. Then
he gave it a decent 8, which I'm saying he barely passed.
Yeah, all right.
Because I'll tell you this, he don't like Smino, and I think that Smino is one of the best rappers that's out right now. Every single verse that he writes is an easy 2 to 4 bars of just hooks, and then he hits you hard with the biggest hook in the chorus. He is an artist. Shout outs to Smino Grigio. Let's flip flop. Proto Martyr, Ultimate Success Today. He gave it a decent 6. I think this album is no skips, a 10 the whole way. So we're gonna rate it a Duke Thany Putano. I'm gonna end it with a request. Yo-Yo Ma, Chris Thiele, Edgar Meyer, and Stuart Duncan's Not Our First Goat Rodeo. That whole album is also no skips. So clip that tag because I want to see what he.
Thank you for
the
segment.
Yeah.
Unapproved segment.
Anthony Fantano is one of those guys where, like, I appreciate what he does, but, like, I disagree with him almost every single time that he says anything. It's like,
I'm like 50-50.
It's just like, see, this is the thing, is that, like, I'm elitist, but I'm not pretentious. And I feel like his choice in music taste is very much like, I don't know. It walks the line into like experimental stuff for, I don't know. He always seems to give experimental stuff that I think is really cool, not as good grades as experimental stuff that like society says is really cool. I don't know. Anyways, I disagree with him like all the time. But he's also bald.
Yeah,
so.
but what do you think about his opinions on Black Midi?
I have not watched any of his Black Midi opinions.
Well, you have some homework.
I actually just showed my dad Black Midi last night.
Really?
We watched the Ductor video. My dad's like, these guys go hard.
Hell yeah.
My dad is like the original like emo indie kid. That guy raised me.
What's his name?
Dwayne. Shout out to my dad, the Bone Crusher.
Thank God it's not Dwight.
Yeah.
Aquawood.
I love that guy.
Dwayne, not Dwight.
He's a whole nother story. But my dad, he's OG, and his music taste is OD. He raised me. He raised me on like the Smiths and the Smashing Pumpkins, but also on like Biggie and Pac, and like also like on the flip side, like even last night we were listening to D'Angelo,
nice,
and getting down on "You're My Lady," and yeah, my dad's OD, and same thing with my mom. Shouts out to my mom.
Shouts out to mom.
My family is rad, and it's
got some cool ass parents.
Like it's
sure.
rad having a rad family.
See, it's cool that you got to have that cool experience sharing Black Midi with your dad, because I have yet to have a cool experience sharing Black Midi with anyone. Everyone hates it. I try to show it to them, like, look how cool this is, and they just hate it. And it's like, that's how it is.
You need to filter your search by autism.
I've been telling everyone else that.
Yeah. You need to search by autism, and then once you start hitting the spectrum, then you can start showing them the Black Midi.
See that? Yeah, I guess you guys got to get a little bit more.
I feel like most people we know fall into that. So,
but nobody likes Black Midi, and nobody likes Death Grips.
You haven't tried to show me Black Midi.
I showed my dad a handful of voice break. Like epileptic. I showed my dad a handful of different Death Grips tunes that I've showed him before, but listening to it again, and my dad comes home today from work and he's like, check out what I've been getting down to. Give a fuck what you're
Yeah.
Well, and here's the thing about like Death Grips, Black Midi, like all that stuff, where it's like it's so much. Mars Volta, I'd say, is in that same
crackhead energy.
Yeah, well, and the thing is that it's like you listen to it, and like I don't know, I'll listen to it a lot more than I'm probably like. It's not really something that you listen to as much as the same, like you would listen to music that you listen in the car. You listen to it to learn something. You listen to it to become a better person. Like you don't just listen to it for fun.
I'm pretty sure the speakers in my truck are pretty tired of scaring the hose, because I've been blowing that shit up for like weeks.
Yeah.
Oh my, there's nonstop bangers in that whole entire album, which actually, I don't know if this is a good time to segment, but I'm going to steer the ship. I have a watch of the week, and I kept it anonymous on purpose because we're gonna live react to it.
All right.
Real quick, did you do anything this week, Alec?
Landscaping.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
it feels really good to actualize a 2-year-long or more dream, like getting to make a nice little bespoke front yard.
Finally got to pull weeds.
Shout out Kevin for
thanks parents for raising me on pulling weeds.
And well, I guess you guys had this plan before we even talked to him. I guess never mind. Kevin didn't do anything.
Kevin didn't change it.
No, thank you, Kevin.
Kevin validated me.
Your choice.
Yeah. Thanks, Kevin.
Well, I want to see this watch of the week.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, so this is by one of my all-time favorite bands, Vildjharta. So get ready for the heavy.
All right.
But the important part is the video.
I'll pull it up. Jamie, we need a Jamie. We'll be right back.
Jamie, find that.
During the break, Scott shared a story about getting a bat high. That's right, a bat, the things that scare you. If you'd like to hear that, as well as our other deleted scenes, exclusive content, etc., go ahead and join our Patreon, where for as little as $1 a month, you get access to all of it. And, help support us too. Please. Thanks.
Okay, well, you guys want to watch this watch of the week?
Yeah, we're going to watch this.
So you guys ready? All right, so this is Vildjharta.
Ready, Patrick?
Yeah, this is Vildhjarta's, I'm not even going to butcher it.
We're just going to put it in the comments.
This is Jamiroquai.
Description.
Ding!
All right, and go. Yeah.
That's fucking sick. Fuck yeah.
That's sick.
God damn. His lines were great.
I'll tell you this. This is the best band. There's very far and few in which I find a band that doesn't have some faux pas somewhere. Mm-hmm. Vildhjarta is the best band that has ever existed. And
I said the same thing about Black Midi on this pod a couple weeks ago.
Haven't missed once. Multiple albums. And I'll tell you what, before I give you my two thoughts on this dadgum video.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's get something squared up. Let's get something straight. Vildhjarta came out with an album called Mastaden, which is like Swedish for Seagull City, about 13 years ago. Okay, this is 2010. Hardest goddamn album I've ever heard, and I was sold immediately. They come out with an EP in 2013 called Thousands of Evils. I've got that bitch on vinyl. It is so hard. It is so hard. And I'll tell you what's so hard about it. It's metric modulations. It's the witchcraft and wizardry between Daniel Burgerstorm, and that's not his actual last name. I just don't know how to pronounce it.
I'm hungry.
As well, and Buster Odeholm. Odeholm. Bad nasties. Absolutely disgusting. So then, right, 10 years goes by. 9-10 years go by. Not a single album, not a single, because how they drop is like single album. No news, no nothing, no nothing.
Just it's there.
Yeah, all right, here it is. Because they're not that big enough to be doing like big promotions. Anyway, they drop this album, Master den Underwater, which is like Seagull City underwater.
Oh.
And this album is 17 tracks, an hour and a half of fucking masterpiece. It has so many callbacks to the original first album. We're not counting Omni Slash, but the first album, it has so many callbacks to it. And in the riffs, in the parts, in everything, the metric modulations, I mean, it is just nonstop. The whole thing is absolute art, and if you ask anyone who gets it, it is probably the best thing that will drop this decade. I'll put it at two decades. That's how like masterfully crafted this album is.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because like specifically like just talking about just the music, they did something that I haven't really heard. Like it's like so Deaf Heaven is the first band that I've heard do this thing where it's like they really play with the mixing of it and like the levels where they throw the vocals way back in the mix, right? And that kind of mixes with the whole thing. This band like did that. They put everything back in the mix except for the guitar, but only sometimes. And so you'd be listening and it's like this soundscape, and then suddenly it's like, and then it just plays this crazy riff and like that,
straight to the
crazy
T.
and it plays with the like it gives you depth to this where you're listening to it, you're like, okay, this is the full thing, and then they say no, there's this other dimension to it that I can just punch this guitar at you really quick, and it's like a what are those things that you look at and you cross your eyes and the thing pops out, like the crazy eye
optical
things, right?
illusion.
Yeah, but like for music, that is crazy how that happened. That's cool.
And what's sick to me is the same idea with doing like their metric modulations, because you'll have this heavy riff in 4/4, but then all of a sudden they'll like slow that down to where the quarter note is now like a triplet, and it's like a third slower than what it was before. It's so nasty. It is so nasty.
That idea that you just talked about right there, I haven't really heard about this that much, but it kind of like, it seems like the rhythmic like equivalent to like how like Indian music has the little at the end of it where it kind of throws it a little bit, but it's still musical, but it adds this little thing, and that's where it was just this extra little half a little thing of being off. Anyways, sorry, Emily, go ahead.
I think heavy metal, is that what you'd like classify it under?
Gent, maybe.
This is deathcore.
Deathcore.
They call it gent.
I think this like corner of music has always been a little like difficult for me to enjoy, because it becomes like, okay, the song's still going on. I can still headbang to this, but like I'm not hearing anything new throughout the piece. And like this was a little bit different. Like it stayed interesting throughout the whole thing. And I know you chose this as a viewing experience for a reason. Do you want to talk about that?
I will tell you my thoughts on this entire viewing experience, and I'll tell you what I think it is. I think this entire, and it's contrary to the name of the song, because I think the name of the song is I think it translates to something like I don't remember it exactly, but it's like when those you love come back from the dead or something like that. However, and it plays perfectly with the rest of the album right where it's at. However, I think the name, at least what I get out of it for this music video, is two things: power and control. That is the whole thing. Obviously, you got Homeboy, who's just built like a shit brick house, and
but what that video just describes, those two things that you described there. It's this power, and he is at weird angles, completely controlled. Because that's completely what I got from this too. Is it was strength, but like in motion, but controlled motion. Right? They did it so well. That video is perfect.
So for anyone who's listening and hasn't seen this, it's basically a guy that's doing like kind of pole dancing, and also a lot of kind of crazy visuals,
imagery of like snakes and guns and stuff.
Yeah, mountainsides,
and the glitchiness part of it too. What I was just talking about with the sound.
It makes me feel like
it's glitching. Also, it's cool.
It makes me. It's reminiscent of that filter on the old MacBooks where like it splits the screen and you like. Do you remember
they had
those?
that the mirroring part. But
except this was done extremely artfully. It feels like butterfly-ish. In a way.
Yeah, because they split the screen, they mirror it, and it just has like the legs kind of sticking out and like kind of folding together. And
I have such an appreciation for like pole athleticism because it really, really is. Like that takes an insane amount of strength and just like endurance because like holding yourself up on that does not feel good.
No.
Like you have to get bruised over and over and over and over and over and over and over again for you to be able to do what he did. So that was very, very cool to watch.
Shout outs to that guy's nipple hair.
I was going to ask, are those his nipples? And I was like, no, I think that's his nipple hair.
No, they're the ones that look like bullseyes. Yeah.
See, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say from like a filmmaking perspective, there were a lot of cool things going on. So one is they had those weird like mosaic sort of things in the bottom, where it's like the little bars that were kind of like changing colors and stuff, which is a fun little technique. But
that's like the glitchiness, right? It has that glitch effect.
Yes, exactly. But one thing I really liked is that they do the like the kind of small videos inside of the bigger video, which is a technique that I've seen kind of coming up a lot, especially from Jordan Talley. Shout out Jordan Talley. He does a lot of really cool concert photography and band photography.
Delta Sleep's been doing it too on a lot of their Instagram posts.
I have a picture on my Instagram of you guys walking on the beach that's like that. It's
cool.
you guys
yeah, that's right. Yep. But like that's such an interesting sort of advancement, I guess, in filmmaking is this sort of like these smaller videos that are inside of this bigger video and how those like kind of play together and what kind of stories they can tell juxtaposed to each other.
So in this communications class, they talked about communications. It's about the medium is the message or whatever. But one thing they talked about is putting two pictures next to each other has inherent meaning, which is the whole point behind filmmaking, right? You put two videos next to each other, but there's something else about this new thing that you talked about, which really is such a simple thing. That picture that you're talking about, I just took the same picture, or that I was talking about, took the same picture and made it smaller on that picture, and it just looks cool. But it does this thing where it in your mind, it makes you think about something and go, what does this mean? It might not mean anything, but it gives it importance. And the two videos playing next to each other overlaid on top of another video does that too.
It's adding another dimension to contrast, which is like what pictures are.
Well, and dimension as far as it like this is on top of that one too.
Exactly.
Like literal physical dimensions. Yeah.
Layering.
Anyways, it's cool. That's the thing that was cool about that, is that the music is really, really avant-garde in of itself. And they took that video and were just like, we're going to do exactly what this makes us feel like. There's no narrative here. There's nothing like, it's kind of scary in that way. And then, it's just like you said, just guns and snakes and then these weird effects on them and this weird, but the thing specifically for me is that glitchiness thing, which it happens from the layering, also from that glitch thing at the bottom. And I said this already, but it lines up perfectly with the sounds. It's crazy to like be able to hear that and then be talented enough at whatever visual stuff to be able to make that show up.
Yeah.
It's sick.
Patrick, what are your top 5 favorite male pole dancers?
Han Wong, Gilbert Forsson, Mike Holmes, from Dirty Jobs.
That's Mike Rowe.
That's Mike Rowe.
No, you're wrong.
This is the other Dirty Jobs.
Sorry, I didn't see the other.
Dirty in quotation marks.
And Lawrence of Arabia.
Of course. I mean, you throw. Of course.
I was gonna say Tinky Winky.
I should have said top 4.
He has the pole on
Tinky
the
Winky.
string.
Yeah.
Good
no
word.
Mookie Betts.
Good pick. Patrick, I want to hear what you thought about it.
It was kind of just taking me back to when I listened to this kind of stuff all the time, because this was like my main shit during like early high school. I listened to the Id album that these guys dropped a lot in that time. I was really into like Born of Osiris.
Yeah, the Sumerian core, Veil of Maya.
Yeah, Veil of Maya, or
Circus Survive, right?
They were the one that had the Id album, right?
Yeah.
Black Veil Bride.
Yeah, I got
Veil
that.
of Maya,
I got that
Born
mixed
of
up.
Osiris, The Faceless.
Yeah,
I didn't remember.
So it kind of was just taking me back to all of that. But just kind of what Max brought up about how like everything just feels kind of so, not like flat is the right word, but there's just, it's like really dense, and then they like bring forward the guitar part, and then all of a sudden there's a riff, and it's like, oh fuck yeah, this is cool.
Well,
and then like the vocal
like,
gets singled out.
They just do like
yeah.
Here's the thing I think is super sick is that you're talking about in the very front end. If you listen, the melody line is literally a whole note bend going. Like it landed.
I'm gonna have to listen to this. I'm gonna have to listen to this some more.
The album is literal art back to front. It is the most artistic, creative, innovative album I have listened to in a very long time. When I first heard this single, they were dropping this video like, oh yeah, we're gonna live stream it, show it and whatnot. I didn't get the song and I was worried about it when I first heard it, but it took me, a couple walks around the dadgum golf course by myself and listening to it on my AirPods, and I saw the light. And when the album dropped, I listened to that thing back to front probably like 2-3 times a day for, I kid you not, maybe a month. This thing is relentlessly good.
Well, I think that you hit on a good point here, and that's that like you have to like music that is like this good, which I said before, it's not like music that you listen to the same way that you listen. It's music that you learn something from and you become better because you experience it, and it's just art in general like that. And like a lot of times with that type of art, you have to experience it multiple times to get into it. It's hard to get into the grooves if you
digest
don't. It's not pop music, right? You gotta, the first time you listen to it, it's going to be hard to listen to. Mars Volta, Black Midi, even The Voids is like this. And you listen to it again, and then you listen to it again, and then it's like, man, this is the best music ever. Once you can feel the groove that they're feeling, because it's just harder to get there, right? Because it's just not the easy groove, right? Anyways, I just think that like that's something that like. And it's probably even true with music that you don't like. If you listen to it more, you'll get something from it.
Like things in physical space. Like I know Spanish a little bit and like a tiny bit of French, but like words have like a different context in another language, and I think that's what I was thinking of when you were describing Mars Volta and like having to re-listen and then you understand music in a different way, and it's really cool and enlightening.
Like, dense mediums like that, you have to chew on it for a while before you can swallow it.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is, as far as just because you were talking about different languages and stuff like that, that's something that this does too, because like there wasn't the vocals were not really there enough that you could sing along with them, right? That's not really like the point of it. And like having, when you take away the sing along ability, or like there's a narrative part of the music because you're not hearing the words, and they're not and again, it does that thing where you probably will have to listen to it multiple times because it's not telling you like, this is a love story, baby, just say yes, right? There's a little bit more to it, or there's not something to it, because the point of it is the music, not the narrative,
right?
Okay.
And that's something I actually super love about like shoegaze music in specific, and how they mix it is they put the vocals in with everything else, and so it just becomes another instrument. And that's why you get like, for example, like you get these really long vocal lines of like not a whole lot of moving, like they're like maybe a third apart either way, and then it's like, and then end on like a minor seventh or something like that, so it's very like dissonant, but it's being used as another instrument in the scape of all the other instruments, as opposed to something that's telling a story on top of everything else.
So like listening to that and watching the video is like, it reminded me in a way of EMDR, or like that kind of thing, where like part of your brain is distracted by this visual element that it doesn't necessarily have a meaning or a story. It's just like something that's there that you're like occupying that side of your brain with, and then it like frees up like this other space for the listening part.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know that for sure. Like when I'm doing homework and stuff like that, I turn on music. Dexter Gordon is who I turn on. He's just this jazz guy. And or if I'm playing FIFA, I turn on I have to have a second thing going on to like focus on this main thing. So what you're talking about, it's that like same, like it occupies the two parts of your brain. I think that's the point with music videos in general, right? Is it's like there's this whole other.
I don't know. Some music videos are like very intentionally trying to tell you what it's about.
Bird and the Worm by the Used. I think about that music video all the time, dude. Getting pulled into the couch. Yeah. Oh fuck. That's how every podcast.
I like this style of music video though, where like it's just like showing you beautiful shapes.
I just like that style of video, right? People just make that type of stuff and put it on Instagram stuff, and I'll just sit there and look at it. And it's like, this is cool art, you know. And it's just like this, like creating. I'm not really good at like drawing, and I kind of know how to use GIMP, and like I like doing stuff like that, just creating little things. When you see people who are really good at like, just taking images and putting them places, and it's like, that's sick. Like you didn't have to draw it; it just looks cool. What
I have a strong aversion to with visual art is when like the artist is very obviously trying to tell you what they want you to see.
Right, too on the nose.
Like, I have a problem with artists literally putting like English words on a canvas for some reason. This is not a pipe. Yeah.
Nice.
Well,
that's like part of the
I think that's why I like more abstract-y things or things that don't really make sense. Is like you get to leave that up to interpretation, or you just let the medium tell you what it wants to be. It's like liquid art. I was into that for a little bit. Like it just becomes what it becomes, and then you show it to people and they're like, oh, that's cool, or oh, that sucks. You know, and it's whatever.
Stupid liquid.
Stupid gravity.
that sucks. How does it look like that?
Wow,
oh my
this
God.
Gravity has no talent. Yeah.
It's just the gravity in this area. It's so bad, you know, around this time of season.
Well, Scott, you were talking about how much this is a masterpiece of an album. You think Fantano will give it like a light 4 then?
I don't even want Fantano to review this album because he don't have he doesn't have the prereqs to get into this one.
Okay, Bumpthany listening Tano.
Yeah, Ignorthany this one Tano.
I have a question about this also, and there's either like you know the answer to this, or and it's one way or the other one, but like how likely do you think it is that these guys are Nazis?
Oh no.
Fat zero, man. These boys are Swedes.
Okay. Well,
they're as neutral as it gets.
Are they liberals? Is what you're saying?
They're now NATO.
Okay. Well, so are they? They're not singing about Nazi stuff. They're following the party line.
They're
following liberal.
We'll do a follow up on this.
Read
Nazi or nah?
Read the lyrics. They're not down like that.
Say we're not
these are boys that are just throwing down for the Lord.
This did make me think of a band that Aaron, second time he's appeared on, Jason Mraz Boy.
Shout out Jason Mraz.
He showed me a heavy metal band and they were for sure Nazis, and he was like, yeah. I'm like, oh, you're problematic, aren't you?
Like Joy Division, right? It's like, I don't know, like I feel like you have to like,
you
don't notice that it's Nazi stuff if you're not aware.
Here's a hot take. I think it's more important to separate the art from the artist.
Well, I was going to talk about Harry Potter theater experience earlier. We disagree, Ryan Sargent.
Well,
that's okay.
The question is this: is that one, is someone still making money off the art, right? Because then you can't really separate it.
If capitalism wasn't here, I would feel differently.
But then also the other thing is this: is that, and me and Maddie talk about this a lot actually, as far as like books go and stuff, where it's like, oh, once you put it out there, it's up to the people who take it. No, that's not true. If I write a song and I put it out there and you listen to it, that's still my song. I still wrote it, and the point that I was trying to get across is still the point that I'm trying to get across. If you misinterpret that, you're just wrong. It's not like, oh, well, now I put it out there. So no, there's still one point. Like Neil Young coming out and getting mad at Trump for using his songs at his rallies. You're not able to say like, oh, well, Neil Young put it out so Trump can do whatever. No, he made one point with that, and that point was not support Trump. You know what I mean? Like that. Like,
have you heard of the idea of death of the author? So basically, the idea is that once a piece of artwork is put out there, the author's interpretation of it is like basically nil. Like it's up to the person who's like consuming it. And how I like to think about it is that like imagine you're on like a desert island and you find like a CD and you listen to it. Your experience with that piece of art is inherently disconnected from the artist.
Right.
Completely. That being said,
people don't get stuck on desert islands very often.
So definitely like now in our time period is that these people are not dead. They're still alive and they're still benefiting from this certain stuff. But the interpretation of the art is still completely separate from the author's intent. It matters in like kind of a, kind of if you're into it and you like learn about that, but any individual person's experience with that art is completely disconnected from the artist's true intent with it.
And you're describing the idea of death of the author.
Yes,
this
exactly.
is not your okay.
Well, I agree that is a thing that happens. I don't support that though, right? And the reason why is that it's like if I walk into somebody's house and they have a bunch of Hitler's art up, that's questionable. Even though it's like, well, it has nothing to do with him as a person. It's him as an artist. Okay, well, he was still a person, and that's very relevant. Like,
Also,
it doesn't have anything to do with the art he
taste in art.
created. Right. It doesn't have to do anything with the art they created being good or bad.
Yeah,
but it has to do
exactly.
with like, if it matters if you have Hitler's art at home, and it matters if you have any art at home, right? It's because the point is that if it's random art that anyone would have created, why would you choose to have this person's art?
So
it could be any,
Do you guys disagree with consuming the art from someone who has been, quote unquote, canceled?
I like to new information comes at me all the time. That's part of being alive. And I think I get more information than someone who lived 50 years ago does. But that information is still valuable. And I think it does matter. It doesn't matter. And more than like what's facts and what's not, like what did they actually do? What was their actual intent by saying this or that on Twitter? Like what matters is that I saw that you said that shit or did that shit, or I saw someone's interpretation of it. And now your character is like it's different now. Like my interpretation of you is different now, and you made that art, and I don't think that is separate at all. I think it's very personal. I think it's sacred, like what humans create.
If you're gonna sit there and make a song and it's deep and it's something you thought about and everything, you can't then look at someone who did that just because they did it for money and say, oh, this has none of that.
And you know what?
It's very personal. It's very related.
I loved Harry Potter for a long time. I was really into that shit, and I'm a little sad that I don't get to like be into it anymore, but I have lots of other interests. I'm not losing anything super important. And it's like, it's fine.
Go ahead, Patrick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, here's another thing where like I think a lot of the Harry Potter movies are pretty good too. Not necessarily the books. I was never really that into the books. But I think another thing, and this ties into like I was gonna say, I still listen to Brand New.
I was about to say, sewing season comes on, bro.
Yeah, like it still means a lot to me. They were like my favorite band for a really long time. I have a lot of really good memories of listening to that music and being with my friends and doing things I love. That it's kind of like the death of the artist thing to me, where it's like, this means way more to me. I don't give a fuck about Jesse Lacey as a person, but this music means a lot to me because I think it always has.
Yeah, I think when it comes down... Oh, go ahead, finish.
And also with Brand New, Jesse Lacey isn't the only person involved with it. And like the Harry Potter movies, J.K. Rowling isn't the only person involved with this. There were like the directors and the actors and the cinematographers and all of this shit. She's not even
in the movie.
That made cool pieces of art separate from what J.K. Rowling ever did in the first place. And like I think it's still valid to like appreciate that. And you can still like something. One person that involved with it is shitty. You can still appreciate what the other people did that is really good.
So like I'm thinking about the Brand New albums, and I don't know, like the Harry Potter franchise has continued to come out with stuff after like all of the shit about
and she keeps making comments.
JKR, and she keeps making comments. I feel like the brand new thing is a little bit different because I don't think they're still making music together. And you're right.
No.
A lot of other people are involved in this thing, but boy, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I vote with my time and energy and money, and I'm not voting for that. Like, I can't do it. And it's okay if other people do.
Yeah, I think like, you know, with the brand new thing, like it makes me think of just any sort of canceled artist and listening to their music. Do you think that there is a moral difference between listening to it? Like, let's say you own a vinyl record of theirs that you bought before any of this come out, and you listen to it and it doesn't financially benefit them all. You can listen to it as much as you want to. It doesn't like have any impact compared to something like Spotify, where they actually do get paid every single individual time you listen to their stuff. Is there a moral kind of benefit or not to that, to like continuing to support them compared to completely not supporting them?
So there's a transaction with Spotify, right? That's still active and alive. But I think there's still an emotional and like a psychological transaction that happens. Like, even after you know that this artist is canceled, even, you know what I mean? And like, I don't know if anyone really can separate that. I don't know if anyone can compartmentalize that.
Oh, for sure. For sure
I can.
You can.
Yeah, I'd like to hear your
'Cause
takes on this.
Here's my thoughts on that. Kanye made Graduation. All right, fuck what he said. I don't care about him as a person. He made game-changing tunes, and I'm here for the production. I'm here for the songwriting. I'm here for the you know, well, in other contexts, the chord progressions and et cetera, et cetera. I'm here for what was created, not the creator. I don't care about the person. Hell, one of my all-time favorite people on the planet, as far as musicians, who's impacted my life massively, Morrissey. He's like staunchly he's like staunchly against like what am I trying to say? He's like for PETA. He is a vegan. He is like, he's all against animal abuse, even to the extent of like writing about it. I don't give a fuck. I don't care about what you're down for. That doesn't bother me. I'm here to enjoy what has been created, because, and I guess what it comes down to is like where you draw the line of context. Is it the art, or is it the art and the artist? And I think that's where there's a shade of gray, which is like open to anyone, to whatever they can have.
Yeah.
But I just think that I'm here for the art itself, not the art and the artist behind it.
I enjoyed Kanye's
I think it also
stuff
matters. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Emily.
Oh, I enjoyed Kanye's stuff I've enjoyed a lot of cancel artist stuff for a long time. Like in high school, before they were canceled, before I learned of something that like really tinged my view on things. And that's the way my brain works, right? And now I appreciate the memories I have of enjoying that music before like my brain acquired new information about the context, right? Yeah, and I get to still enjoy those memories about it. It just means that I can't really enjoy it the same way I used to.
And I think this is the deal, is that we don't need to like pretend like we're in some crazy pretend world where like, oh, if someone did something bad, then we can remove this from existence. No, let's not do that. I think honestly, like in the world that we're currently in, the best thing that we can do is when Jesus Christ comes on, I go, wow, this is a good song.
I thought you were going to like talk about when Jesus Christ comes back.
No,
like,
Jesus Christ
Savior comes back. You don't let me listen to Brand New.
When Jesus Christ by Brand New comes on, the thing is like, oh wow, this is a really good song. Wow, Jesse Lacey is a bad guy, and I know that, and my actions from now on are going to be different because of that. Whether or not it's good for me to consume the art that's out there after, it doesn't matter, because it's going to be out there and people are going to make that decision. I don't really think that blaming the consumer for things like this, is correct. But I do think that if
you enjoy it in a different way or differently?
Yeah, or if you just have the thought of like, this person did something bad, I know why they did it's bad, I'm not going to do that, and I'm going to advocate against people doing that. The thing's still there, and if you consume it, nothing good or bad happens, right? Just as long as if you listen to Kanye and you go, I love Jewish people, then you've done your work.
Except for like, if you buy their merch,
Except
like is buying
there's a
their
kickback
merch
there
is-
still.
yeah,
Yeah.
but that
listening to
for
their stuff on
sure is
Spotify.
over the line, right?
I think that comes down to a lot of like, is this person still active, and are they still actively being shitty?
Well,
You know, like,
the
it's-
thing is, if you
I
buy
think,
a
like-
swastika thing and you wear a swastika thing around, they're not active anymore. Everyone knows what it means, right? If you buy a brand new
Yeah.
shirt right now and you wear it around, knowing what brand new now means, like, what are you trying to do that for? There's 1,000 other shirts in the world. It's not like you had to choose. Like, if you already have a shirt, then it's kind of, I don't know. But if you can't go out and buy one, because that's directly giving this person money, you know?
Kind of in that same vein. I know 3 friends that have brand new tattoos.
Ouchie.
And I have a friend
They
who
just got them?
no, they had before. And I have another friend who proposed to his wife at a concert, and like
yeah.
he reached out to
Big
Jesse Lacey's
ouchie.
wife and like communicated, and they stopped the set and said, "All right, blah blah blah," and like
That's
he did
sick.
it. And so now, like that experience has to be
It
completely
is sick.
recontextualized because of everything that's happened. And like I don't know how fair it is to have to do that to these people that have had an experience primarily with this piece of art, right? People like listen to it with their friends when they're, in high school, and they're having these experiences, and they're drawing things into it. And then suddenly they have to take all of that and completely recontextualize it because of the morality of this person, which is obviously shitty. And I think it's a really weird situation to be in. I don't really know how people that have, like, people take off those tattoos?
Did you do something like as a teenager that you're embarrassed about? Something like
No.
reckless or stupid or mean?
No.
Never.
Farted in class once.
Yes.
You
But
have.
These aren't teenagers, though.
Oh, I'm not talking about like the artist.
Oh,
but
okay,
I guess
okay.
you could take it that way too.
Well, I don't think they should be
But,
embarrassed about that
like,
stuff, right?
I think you like look back on. I don't know.
If they come
Yeah.
out and apologize, it's different, right? I don't know about the Jesse
I don't
Lacey
know
stuff.
about
I don't know
like
if
the
you can
whole
apologize
redemption
about
thing. I
that.
think that's
Yeah.
like a whole other conversation.
this
That's
is-
very.
I know
big.
that this is for me something I'm dealing with a lot recently with Julian Casablancas, right? He's like look up to him, and like everyone does with their musician idols and stuff like that. But like the dude isn't currently, but like just a couple months ago was dating this girl who is younger than me, and he's like 45. You know what I mean? That's something I'm not okay with, and like the fact is that it's like, yeah, that's messed up, and he's getting railed online for it. I don't know. You have to say like, look, people are doing, I don't know. I don't know what the line is.
Here's the thing, though. That means that you're in his target demographic for dating.
Oh, perfect. Thank God. Well, see, this is the
gotta
thing is
choose,
I'd never
bro.
want to date a 45-year-old, let alone a 45-year-old man.
Julian
Let
Casablancas.
alone,
Just wait till you meet the right
I respect Julian
45-year-old.
Casablancas. I also hate Julian Casablancas. So like, yeah.
I think what I'm taking away from this is, and I think this is really, really interesting because we all seem to have a very like unique individual take on this. And like, I think our experiences of art are like different, and we have like different rules around it, like morally, personally. And I think that's okay and good.
As long as we all
even.
agree hitting up underage girls like ever is wrong, specifically if you're like the lead guy in a big band that specifically underage girls are into.
Well, in
that's
any
bad. You
situation,
can't
it
do
doesn't
that.
matter if you're in a band or like if you're just
Well,
don't do
also,
that.
I think there's a really interesting conversation to be had about that.
Don't bother underage girls.
Right, of course. Like the power dynamics that exist within like an artist-fan relationship that inherently put an artist on like having this power level that makes like any of their relationships that can either even like completely like consensual good ones, that there is that dynamic there that is always potentially problematic and has to be taken into account and weighed and treated with respect, more respect than you would, not that you shouldn't treat any relationship with respect, but just that already applies like these kind of weights and levers to it that I think while the cancel culture stuff, there's a whole conversation about that. While that's kind of big in a lot of ways, it's holding a lot of people to account and saying, look, these things are not just like, won't just go away. Like any like poor behavior that happens, that it's not just going to disappear, and it's not going to disappear under your like legally or just under the fact that you're really well known and someone isn't. With the internet, these are allowed to come out, which they should come out, and they should be talked about. And I don't know.
Yeah. Jesse Lacey has 2 first names, and they're both girl names.
And he's probably bald.
What are you trying
at
to
this
say
point.
about girl names, huh?
Nothing.
Huh?
Just that Jesse Lacey has 2 of them, and you only have 1. Emily, how does that make you feel?
Never trust anyone who has 2 first names
Thank-
or like 3
yeah.
first names.
Ricky
Fuck
Bobby.
that.
Look, first
Straight to jail.
names of cities. That's a red flag. First names that are last names, that's a red flag. Last names that are
Immediately
first names, that's a
canceled.
red flag.
Yeah.
There's this guy who plays for RSL named Anderson Julio. Never met a bigger red flag in my entire goddamn life.
But how does he play though? Is his game good?
He actually hit up. Just kidding. I was going to make a Jesse Lacey joke, but I don't want to paint. Anderson Julio, I love you. Thank you for scoring that goal the other day against whoever it was in our 3-1 win.
Yeah. So Scat,
Yeah.
have you do you feel morally bad now?
I don't feel anything anymore. I've been disassociating to Elden Ring for a long time, but no, I don't feel bad. I think art's up for the interpretation of the individual because we're all individual people, and I think everyone has different moralistic lines, and beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think didn't
it's
this
fun.
conversation kind of start with you guys talking about how you don't like when art tells you what it's supposed to be and it's up for you to interpret and like have your own experience with? Like, that's kind of how this started, isn't it?
That is a funny call out.
That's how it's
Yeah.
ending too.
I don't know. I think I
yeah.
was maybe talking about that with visual art.
So that means that filmmakers, you can do whatever the fuck you want. You can
I
get
don't
canceled
know.
all you
You've
want.
got other
Emily's on your
senses involved
side
at
as
that
long as it's
point.
abstract and weird. I'm just kidding.
There are other senses involved with filmmaking.
That's true.
Do we have a name for this
Typically you have
episode?
audio.
Gabagool.
Bumpy Soup gets canceled.
Bumpy Soup takes on the.
Never going to be the name of an episode.
Alec is going to have to do so much post-production on
Oh my
this.
god. Baseball.
That's a good one.
That's good, yeah.
I like baseball.
Baseball.
Okay, and to end this out, wait, Patrick, did you have another thing?
Bumpy Thino Souptana.
Bumpthany, yeah, Bumpthany Souptano. Yeah.
Bumpthany Souptano.
Yeah,
That's
for
really
sure.
good.
Okay.
I was going to say to end this out,
Decent
just
six.
so everyone knows. Well, firstly, follow us on Instagram, Bumpy Soup. Follow us on TikTok, Bumpy Soup. Twitter, Bumpy Soup. Patreon. We're on IndieFlix now. And also Spotify, YouTube, all those places. Anyways, so we've been calling him Scat this whole time, and I thought you guys should know the backstory of how that got started. It's because he's famous for his scatting, so I figured you could scat us out.
Ski bop a diddly dop nope.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching.
Bump it up.
Bye-bye.